I think what makes the theater special, to me, is a sense of belonging, it's a sense of history, and of course it's a shared experience.
If I want to come to a group event and actually be out and about as part of an evening, I'm going to go to a movie theater.
I also grew up loving movie theaters and loving the experience of being in a theater where everybody is captivated by what is going on the screen.
If you go back to the original transitions of the days when film was silent, everybody was very happy with that. Everybody knew silent film was full of pathos and full of drama, and the accompaniment was either done by a solo clarinet or a solo violin or a solo piano, and in some of the larger theaters, an actual organ, which was the king of instruments, that could emulate just about any sound. And then, of course, in the metropolitan theaters, you had full orchestras. It got very expensive. But then came radio. And when radio came, everything changed. Between 1924 and 1926, the movie theater audience dropped by half. And the studio said the only way we're going to fight sound is by, bringing sound in. And they dusted off all those patents from the 1890s, and they did synchronized sound recording. And while that was great for the studios, the theater operators were in trouble because now they had to trash all their equipment and come back with something now that can use synchronized sound and be able to give some sort of an image on the screen with synchronized sound that people will now be able to listen to. That put a lot of people out of business. The same when we went from a square image to a widescreen image. Certainly when we went from color, from black and white. Now you have the biggest transition of all is that you're going from regular film to digital projection. And now that's between the $75,000 to $135,000 investment per screen. Per screen. So if you have a 6-screen theater, you better be, dusting off your mortgage and taking a second on your house because that's what it's going to take. We're in the Northeast here of the United States. If you look at the rest of the country, whether it be Chicago, San Jose, Austin, little downtown theaters have ceased to exist. It's only in the Northeast that they still exist to a certain degree, and this will probably wind up eliminating most of those theaters.
They rebuilt the whole town had actually burned at the turn of the century, and there was kind of a shed thing here, and then for some reason this was the last lot left. And they built the theater. It was closed for about 8 years, and the people in this town got together and did a lot of work on this theater. They volunteered their time, they had fundraisers, they got it together. They pulled it together, they put a roof on, they put projection in, they went through a lot for this, and they opened it. They sold it to another owner who kept it for 20 years, and he subsequently sold it to me. I had to have it. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a nice, beautiful old theater. It has great bones. We did very well for a while. And then the digital conversion thing started happening. And all of a sudden, films became less available. And it's become really acute in the last year or so.
Smaller independent theaters that are now in a situation, a very precarious situation, where they're told either they somehow buy digital projectors, invest in them, which are very, very expensive, $100,000 or more, as I understand it, or perish, in effect.
We knew, and I think all movie owners who've been in the business for a while knew from the late 90s, and Lucasfilms was the leader at this, that we were going to digitize. We kept a newspaper article from 2000 saying digitization was just around the corner and all theaters would lose their projectors. That effort didn't work because the internet couldn't deliver the content. But it's no surprise that we were going to see a significant change in how the equipment worked. What came as a surprise to the community of theater owners was that there would be no alternative. For instance, our old projector used a carbon arc, very bright kind of lamp that burns. It's incredibly dangerous, but that was in use through 1996. We didn't change out that bulb till we bought this theater after the last owners. In other words, we could sustain these very old technologies in little places without having to worry about the upgrade. What makes it different this time and from anything else they had publicized is there's not going to be any alternative.
As an exhibitor, I'm presenting something to somebody. I'm giving you something. I'm giving you an experience. I'm giving you a memory. And that's something that no one can ever take away from you, that experience. Now, while that sounds really great, and it kind of works for me, I think it works for you folks as well. The problem is that the generation after you doesn't look at film entertainment as entertainment. They look at it as information. And that is the difference. And it started probably about 30 years ago with what I like to call the video store mentality. You know, films would be something that were revered because they were so unique. They were almost like a cloud. Once you saw it, the cloud dissipated, never to be seen again. Unless, you know, you're Disney and every 10 years you'd re-release the film. Now, films just, you know, you go to a video store, you order it online, bang, it's right there. You can see it 20 times and be done with it. The mystery, the sense of wonder and awe, that's what has gone out of this business. In this particular venue, when you see it on the big screen, you're seeing something in a way that you can't see it anywhere else. But we're dealing with a customer base that is now used to getting whatever they want at the touch of their fingertips. I think the convenience level for young people, those folks will never return to the theater. This experience has probably 50 years before it ceases to exist. And that's a shame. Film will always be with us. Movies will always be there to entertain. But theatrical presentations, it's going to be a tough sell. It really is.
People are somewhat unnerved about the future, and I think more than ever they're trying to reach out to each other, and which is the thing that a movie theater can provide. Not only escape, a little escape, but a chance to just kind of be with other people and have a communal experience.
In some ways, if you're not a fan of the movies, maybe it doesn't matter as much as it used to. But what we're saying to our own community coming here, they don't really realize what it takes to put a movie on, to fund it, to support it. But what they do understand is when they are getting up with their family and looking for a form of entertainment together, something that they can enjoy together and across multiple generations, the movie theater is one of the first places they look for, particularly in our town where there isn't a lot of other venues like that. So if it's important to them to have that family and community activity, or if it's important to them to see the movies the way they were designed to be seen, big and bold and loud with other folks around you enjoying it, then that's why you want to pay attention to a large group venue to watch your movie as opposed to just watching it as an individual or through a video.
The experience is so much different with an audience around them, and that's what the film is being made for. It is funnier when everybody's laughing. You know, I mean, it is sad, and you can feel the tension when a sad part of the movie comes and everybody's kind of just, and you can feel it. You won't hear it, but you can hear it with your body in the auditorium.
It's very important because I think all of us need to be exposed to the arts and to people who are artists and filmmakers. And I think it's what keeps us, it's more than just surviving. It's what makes us think and excites us, and it's like a great book or a great novel. We need films as well. We need a culture. We need to have, to understand what the contemporary artists are saying and thinking about this world that we're in. And I think I would feel very bereft if all I had was just maybe an occasional book to read and just and no visual art to really explore and get excited by.
The coolest thing is to be in a 1,000-seat theater all by yourself. Wow! Or with a friend of yours, and you're going to see this film all by yourself. But that's not the shared experience. And there's where the big change is, and for people behind you. Now, my daughter's 33, and she still thinks that, like you, and like I do, that this is a great place to see a movie and a great experience to be had. But we're in the minority. We're in the minority. And I can tell because, years ago, Friday nights were the nights that all the kids went to see movies. Those days don't exist anymore.
Because we're such a tiny community, we really act as a community center for most of the time that we're open. So from May through Christmas, we're hosting our own school musical concerts, fundraising events. We are an actual offshoot of the community center because there are very few other community venues that can hold a large crowd. So our role is not only to provide entertainment and serve our tourists with something that's fun for them to do, but we have that second role that's almost as important, to serve as a community gathering spot.
The question is, for all these other small theaters, what is the alternative? If you're not going to be showing Hollywood product, if you're not going to be able to do that, or the usual major movies like Flight or other movies that have just opened, then what do you do? Then how do you do it?
We have to be part of the community, okay? You need to put fundraisers in. You need to have lectures and events and political things and talks and all kinds of things. And when independent people shoot their films here, I want to be able to run their film.
The key here always is story. If the story's good, the film is good, people will come and see it. If we're gonna serve food here, that's not gonna make it. If we're gonna serve food here with topless waitresses, it's not gonna add anybody. I mean, trust me, it's very hard to reinvent the wheel. You saw the number of screens in this country go from 23,000 to 34,000. But the same amount of people are still going to the theaters. They're serving food, they're doing extra live programming. It's the quality of the product. That's always the key.
People who think that it may vanish, which is a terrible thought, I think, unless something is done.
It's important that people understand that this is a time when people have to call their local officials, speak to their state assembly people, and certainly send a letter or two to the governor. And that may sound a little extreme, but it's important that they recognize that this is an issue.
Theater has been around for all of humanity. I'd be surprised if we don't have a community presence of some kind. It's how I'm going to get the content and how I'm going to get alternate content that may change over the 15 years.